I know I'm a little bit behind on talking about this story, but if y'all been following me for the last couple of years, then you would know that I actually talked about this story when the actual news broke about the initial story behind what is occurring or what has come out right now. So basically, what you have is this Bobby Paul Edwards, who is the palm colored man, and then you have uh, I'm sorry, John Christopher Smith, who was on the right. And basically, John Christopher Smith was enslaved. Those were the words used, and basically, that's how I have to put it. For years, by this man to work in his restaurant, basically for free. I wouldn't even say dirt cheap, just for free, because he didn't pay him anything, and he basically tortured him. Like, he treated him like shit for years. And it got exposed, and his little operation got shut down, and he got sentenced to 10 years in prison for his role in which he played. And honestly, I think he should have got way more time than that. But to add insult to injury, John Christopher Smith got a paid restitution for what he, had to endure. Now, granted, I'm glad that he ended up getting some money, but I feel like he should have got way more for all that he had to endure for all of his years. He only got paid or was entitled to $546,000, which basically I think equals out to the amount of paychecks he would receive if they totaled all of that up for how much he should have been getting as a person who works at this establishment. I'm not sure if this taxes withheld or anything like that, but either way, he should have gotten in my opinion, way more than that. But you want to know what the irony of this whole story is? And someone pointed it out and it didn't click to me until after after they said it. This story is coming out of South Carolina, the same state that idiot Tim Scott is the senator of, who said out of his mouth that America is not a racist nation, yet this happened in his state. And I don't even know if Tim Scott even talked about this when it first got unveiled about what was going on. Because I don't remember hearing or seeing a quote from him. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. But let me go ahead and read this article. A black South Carolina man enslaved by his white boss for 5 years is being awarded $546,000 in restitution, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit ruled. John Christopher Smith was initially entitled to $273,000 in restitution payments from his former boss, Bobby Paul Edwards, at J&J Cafeteria, but the Court of Appeals ruled that the United States District Court for the District of South Carolina did not account for federal labor laws in the initial decision. So they was going to lowball him even more. Minimum wages and overtime compensation must be paid on a current basis as work is done, such that an employee receives the prescribed compensation without delay. When an employer fails to pay those amounts, the employee suffers losses, which includes the loss of the use of that money during the period of delay. The Court of Appeals wrote in its filing, Edwards was sentenced to 10 years in prison in November 2019 after he pled guilty to one count of forced labor for coercing an African-American man with an intellectual disability to work extensive hours at a restaurant for no pay. For his abuse of Smith from 2009 to 2014, the Department of Justice announced in a press release at the time. In a statement from the DOJ obtained by People in June 2018 from Assistant Attorney General John Gore said human trafficking through forced labor can happen on farms and homes, and as today's case shows, in public places such as restaurants. Edwards abused an African-American man with intellectual disabilities by coercing him to work long hours in a restaurant without pay, Gore continued. Combating human trafficking by forced labor is one of the highest priorities of this Justice Department, and today's guilty plea reflects our commitment to seeking justice on behalf of victims of human trafficking. In the recent filing from the Court of Appeals, the judge wrote that Smith has an intellectual disability and an IQ of 70. Smith initially began working at the restaurant in 1990 as a part-time dishwasher at 12 years old, but it had been under management of a different member of Edwards' family and was always paid for his labor until Edwards took over in September 2009, per the Court of Appeals. The J&J cafeteria owner forced Smith to work more than 100 hours unpaid per week with no days off. Edwards threatened the employee with arrest, verbal abuse, and physical abuse, leaving Smith physically and psychologically scarred, the Court of Appeals wrote in a new filing. According to the court, the victim stated, "I felt like I was in prison. Most of the time I felt unsafe, like Bobby could kill me if he wanted. I wanted to get out of that place so bad, but couldn't think of how I could without being hurt." I'm glad that the article incorporated the part of him being tortured, because that definitely did happen to this man. Like, this Bobby character, he is a scumbag in every sense of in definition of the word. And then some. And look at his mugshot. He's smiling. He just seems happy to be there. He did this for 5 years. Like they said, he was already working at this restaurant. For so long. Since the 90s. When Bobby's family owned it. But then when they handed the company over to him, when they can no longer run it anymore, he took advantage of this guy's disability and literally made him work all those hours. It's 100 hours unpaid every single day. He practically lived inside of that restaurant. If I can remember, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he did live in the restaurant. Like, he could not go home, if he even had a home to go to. And I keep trying to figure out, how did his family, and I'm talking about John's family, did they know about this? Like, how could it, did he have any family? Because I don't see anything in the article stating anything about him having family. So it could be a thing. Maybe he didn't have any family after a while, and that made it easier for him to take advantage of, because then he knew no one would be looking for him, or no one would be checking up on him, or no one would be worried about him. And he probably filled his head with so many things and saying that, he's doing a good thing, by having him do this, because he, like I said, he took advantage of this man's disability. If anybody has a mental illness, it's this guy, John Christopher Smith. But let mainstream media try to flip it if they could. They would say that this Bobby was the one that with the mental illness. And they would probably try to flip and say, "Oh, he could have left anytime that he wanted to." I'm just putting it out there. That's how mainstream media likes to talk. But either way, I'm glad he's getting some kind of restitution behind this, even though I truly believe he should get way more. And speaking of more, that this Bobby character should get way more time, because in my opinion, 10 years is not nearly enough for what he did. He took advantage of this guy and his mental state to not really comprehend what was going on and what was happening to him. I mean, you know what? I take that back. He did, because he was able to admit what happened, and he said he was scared to leave because he was fearful that his boss would kill him. And he probably told him that. But this is just crazy. I have no more words to say. Hopefully he gets his when he gets to prison by somebody in there for what he did. It would be much deserved.